Hello, class. As you can see, I'm back in the classroom with my gloves on, trying to be as safe as possible, especially if you're going to be going out to a store. Obviously, the only stores you're really supposed to be going out to would be for food that you need to have, or for medical care, or to take care of somebody. Other than that, you're not supposed to leave your house. But when you do, it's a good idea to wear these gloves. So I have sanitized everything. A good way to take off gloves once you've worn them, because there might be contaminants on the outside, so you don't ever want to touch the outside of your glove with your bare hand. So you grab it and you're gonna put your fingers together and you're gonna turn it inside out as you take it off. So the only thing that this has touched now is my hand, so I can now touch it with my hand, and then you throw it away. Okay. Another trick is to take the one you've just taken off, hold that in this hand when you take it off, and now the gloves are together. Okay. And it's safe to touch this part because that was the inside part that was on my hand. And then dispose of it properly. Make sure you're not throwing gloves away in someone's house that could touch it and then maybe get your germs. All right. So we're going to put that in the trash. And I'm going to read the next chapter of Charlotte's Web. So this chapter is Off to the Fair, and it is definitely one of my favorite chapters. As I said last time, it has my favorite song in it from the movie. And so after I read this chapter, I'll be sending out a link so that you guys can watch the next section of the movie, just like we are in class. Off to the Fair. Oh, if you're following along, I am on chapter 16, page 118, in my book at least. The night before the county fair, everybody went to bed early. Fern and Avery were in bed by 8. Avery lay dreaming that the Ferris wheel had stopped and that he was in the top car. Fern lay dreaming that she was getting sick in the swings. Lurvy was in bed by 8:30. He lay dreaming that he was throwing baseballs at a cloth cat and winning a genuine Navajo blanket. Mr. and Mrs. Zuckerman were in bed by 9. Mrs. Zuckerman lay dreaming about a deep freeze unit. That's like a freezer. It's part of your refrigerator. Mr. Zuckerman lay dreaming about Wilbur. He dreamt that Wilbur had grown until he was 116 feet long and 92 feet high, and that he had won all the prizes at the fair and was covered in blue ribbons, and even had a blue ribbon tied to the end of his tail. So that's the dream right there of huge Wilbur. Tied to the end of his tail. Down in the barn cellar, the animals too went to sleep early, all except Charlotte. Tomorrow would be fair day. Every creature planned to get up early to see Wilbur off on his great adventure. When morning came, everyone got up at daylight. The day was hot. Up the road at the Arbol's house, Fern lugged a pail of hot water to her room and took a sponge bath. Then she put on her prettiest dress because she knew she would see boys at the fair. Mrs. Arble scrubbed the back of Avery's neck, wet his hair, parted it, and brushed it down hard until it stuck down to the top of his head. All but about 6 hairs that always stood straight up. Avery put on clean blue jeans and a clean shirt. Mrs. Arble dressed, ate breakfast, and went out and polished his truck. He had offered to drive everybody to the fair, including Wilbur. Bright and early, Lurvy put a clean straw in Wilbur's crate and lifted it into the pig pen. The crate was green, and in gold letters it said, "Zuckerman's Famous Pig." Charlotte had her web looking fine for the occasion. Wilbur ate his breakfast slowly. He tried to look radiant without getting food in his ears. In the kitchen, Mrs. Zuckerman suddenly made an announcement. "Homer," she said to her husband, "I'm going to give that pig a buttermilk bath." "A what?" said Mr. Zuckerman. "A buttermilk bath. My grandmother used to bathe her pig with buttermilk when it got dirty. I just remembered." "Well, Wilbur's not dirty," said Mr. Zuckerman proudly. "He is filthy behind the ears," said Mrs. Zuckerman. "Every time Lurvy slops him, the food runs down around the ears, and then it dries and forms a crust. He also has a smudge on one side where he lays in the manure." "He lays in clean straw," corrected Mr. Zuckerman. "Well, he's dirty, and he's going to have a bath." Mr. Zuckerman sat down weakly and ate a donut. His wife went to the woodshed. When she returned, she wore rubber boots and an old raincoat and carried a bucket of buttermilk and a small wooden paddle. "Edith, you're crazy," mumbled Zuckerman. But she paid no attention to him. Together they walked to the pig pen. Mrs. Zuckerman wasted no time. She climbed in with Wilbur and went to work. Dipping her paddle in the buttermilk, she rubbed him all over. The geese gathered around to see the fun, and so did the sheep and lambs. Even Templeton poked his head out cautiously to watch Wilbur get a buttermilk bath. You can see right there his buttermilk bath. Charlotte got so interested, she lowered herself on a drag line so she could see better. Wilbur stood still and closed his eyes. He could feel the buttermilk trickling down his sides. He opened his mouth and some buttermilk ran in. It was delicious. He felt radiant and happy. And when Mrs. Zuckerman got through and rubbed him dry, he was the cleanest, prettiest pig you ever saw. He was pure white, pink around the ears and snout, and smooth as silk. The Zuckermans went up to change into their best clothes. Lurvy went to shave and put on his plaid shirt and his purple necktie. The animals were left to themselves in the barn. The 7 goslings paraded round and round their mother. "Please, please, please take us to the fair," begged a gosling. And then all 7 began teasing to go. "Please, please, 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 please." They made quite a racket. "Children," snapped the goose, "we are staying quietly at home. Only Wilbur is going to the fair." And then Charlotte interrupted. "I shall go too," she said softly. I have decided to go with Wilbur. He may need me. We can't tell what may happen at the fairgrounds. Somebody's got to go along who knows how to write. And I think Templeton better come too. I might need somebody to run errands and do general work." "I'm staying right here," grumbled the rat. "I haven't the slightest interest in fairs." "Well, that's because you've never been to one," remarked the old sheep. "A fair is a rat's paradise. Everybody spills food at a fair. A rat can creep out late at night and have a feast. In the horse barn, you'll find oats that have pacers have spilled. And in the trampled grass of the infield, you'll find old discarded lunchboxes containing the foul remains of peanut butter sandwiches, hard-boiled eggs, cracker crumbs, bits of donuts, particles of cheese. In the hard-packed dirt of the midway, after the glaring lights are out and the people have gone home to bed, you will find a veritable treasure of popcorn fragments, frozen custard dribblings, candied apples abandoned by tired children, sugar fluff crystals, salted almonds, popsicles, partially gnawed ice cream cones, and the wooden sticks of lollipops. Everywhere is loot for a rat. In tents, in booths, in haylofts. Why, a fair has enough disgusting leftover food to satisfy a whole army of rats." Templeton's eyes were blazing. "Is this true?" he asked. "Is this appetizing yarn of yours true? I like high living, and what you say tempts me." "It's true," said the old sheep. "Go to the fair, Templeton. You will find that conditions at a fair will surpass your wildest dreams. Buckets with sour mash sticking to them, tin cans containing particles of tuna fish, greasy paper bags stuffed with rotten—" "That's enough," cried Templeton. "Don't tell me any more. I'm going." "Good," said Charlotte, winking at the old sheep. "Now then, there's no time to be lost. Wilbur will soon be put into the crate. Templeton and I must be in the crate now and hide ourselves." The rat didn't waste a minute. He scampered over to the crate, crawled between the slats, and pulled straw up over him so he was hidden out of sight. "All right," said Charlotte. "I'm next." She sailed into the air, let out a drag line, and dropped gently to the ground. Then she climbed up the side of the crate and hid herself in a knothole in the top board. The old sheep nodded. "What a cargo!" she said. That sign ought to say Zuckerman's famous pig and 2 stowaways. Look out! The people are coming, umming, shouted the gander. The big truck with Mr. Arable at the wheel backed slowly down towards the barnyard. Lurvy and Mr. Zuckerman walked alongside. Fern and Avery were standing in the body of the truck, hanging onto the sideboards. Listen to me, whispered the old sheep to Wilbur. When they open the crate and try to put you in, struggle. Don't go without a tussle. Pigs always resist when they're being loaded. But if I struggle, I'll get dirty, said Wilbur. Never mind that. Do as I say. Struggle. If you were to walk into the crate without resisting, Zuckerman might think you were bewitched. He'd be scared to go to the fair. Templeton poked his head through the straw. Struggle if you must, he said, but remember kindly, I'm hiding down here in this crate, and I don't want to be stepped on, or kicked in the face, or pummeled, or crushed in any way, or squashed, or buffeted about, or bruised, or lacerated, or scarred, or biffed. You just watch what you're doing, Mr. Radiant, when they come to shoving you in. Be quiet, Templeton, said the sheep. Excuse me. Pull in your head. They're coming. Look radiant, Wilbur. Lay low, Charlotte. Oh, I have the hiccups. Lay low, Charlotte. Talk it up, geese. The truck backed slowly into the pig pen and stopped. Mr. Arable cut the motor, got out, walked around to the rear, and lowered the tailgate. The geese cheered. Mrs. Arable got out of the truck. Fern and Avery jumped to the ground. Mrs. Zuckerman came walking down from the house. Everybody lined up at the fence and stood for a moment admiring Wilbur and the beautiful green crate. Nobody realized that the crate already contained a rat and a spider. That is some pig, said Mrs. Arable. He's terrific, said Lurvy. He's very radiant, said Fern, remembering the day that he was born. Well, said Mrs. Zuckerman, he's clean anyway. That buttermilk certainly helped. Mr. Arable studied Wilbur carefully. Yes, he is a wonderful pig, he said. It's so hard to believe that he was the runt of the litter. You'll get some good ham and bacon, Homer, when it comes time to kill that pig. Oh, man, they're still planning on killing him. And that's just kind of what happens in a farm, right? The animals are there to be a product. So the cows, the product that they make, milk, right? The chickens, they have eggs. And unfortunately for the pigs, a lot of it is for their meat, their bacon, their ham. And so Wilbur and Charlotte are going to have to do something pretty extraordinary for Wilbur not to be killed. Wilbur heard those words and his heart almost stopped. I think I'm going to faint, he whispered to the old sheep who was watching. Kneel down, whispered the old sheep. Let the blood rush to your head. So, if you're feeling like you're going to faint or feeling kind of dizzy, it's a lot of times because you don't have enough blood like in your brain. And so if you bend down and put your head between your knees, that helps sometimes. Wilbur sank to his knees, all radiance gone. His eyes closed. Look, screamed Fern. He's fading away. Hey, watch me, yelled Avery, crawling on all fours into the crate. I'm a pig, I'm a pig. Avery's foot touched Templeton under the straw. What a mess, thought the rat. What fantastic creatures boys are. Why did I let myself in for this? The geese saw Avery in the crate and cheered. Avery, you get out of the crate this instant, commanded his mother. What do you think you are? I'm a pig, cried Avery, tossing handfuls of straw into the air. Oink, oink, oink. The truck is rolling away, Papa, said Fern. The truck, with no one at the wheel, had started to roll downhill. Mr. Arable dashed into the driver's seat and pulled the emergency brake. The truck stopped. The geese cheered. Charlotte crouched and made herself as small as possible in the knothole so that Avery wouldn't see her. You come out at once, cried Mrs. Arable. Avery crawled out of the crate on hands and knees, making faces at Wilbur, and Wilbur fainted away. The pig has passed out, said Mrs. Zuckerman. Throw water on him. Throw some buttermilk, suggested Avery. The geese cheered. Lurvy ran for a pail of water. Fern climbed into the pen and knelt by Wilbur's side. "It's sunstroke," said Zuckerman. "The heat's too much for him." "Maybe he's dead," said Avery. "Come out of that pig pen immediately!" cried Mrs. Arable. Avery finally obeyed his mother and climbed into the back of the truck so he could see better. Lurvy returned with cold water and dashed it on Wilbur. "Throw some on me," cried Avery. "I'm hot too." "Oh, keep quiet," hollered Fern. "Keep quiet." Her eyes were brimming with tears. Wilbur, feeling the cold water, came to. He rose slowly to his feet, and the geese cheered. Here's a picture of Wilbur getting some water thrown on him. "He's up," said Mr. Arable. "I guess there's nothing wrong with him." "I'm hungry," said Avery. "I want a candied apple." "Oh, Wilbur's all right now," said Fern. "We can start. I want to take a ride on the Ferris wheel." Mr. Zuckerman and Mr. Arable and Lurvy grabbed the pig and pushed him headfirst towards the crate. Wilbur began to struggle. The harder the men pushed, the harder he held back. Avery jumped down and joined the men. Wilbur kicked and thrashed and grunted. "Nothing wrong with this pig," said Mr. Zuckerman cheerfully, pressing his knee against Wilbur's behind. "All right now, all together now, boys, shove." With a final heave, they jammed him into the crate. The geese cheered. Lurvy nailed some boards across the end so Wilbur couldn't back out. And then, using all their strength, the men picked up the crate and heaved it aboard the truck. They did not know that under the straw was a rat, and inside a knothole was a big gray spider. They only saw a pig. "Everybody in," called Mr. Arable. He started the motor. The ladies climbed in beside him. Mr. Zuckerman and Lurvy and Fern and Avery rode in the back, hanging onto the sideboards. The truck began to move ahead. The geese cheered. The children answered their cheer, and everybody went to the fair. End of the chapter. All right. The next chapter is called Uncle. We'll find out who Uncle is. So class, the next video that I'm going to send out is going to be a link to the YouTube videos for the movie. So there's going to be a couple because we've read enough that we can watch a couple of the clips. As you guys remember, it was uploaded to YouTube in sections. And so what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'll send out same message as I do, but it'll be a couple different clips, and it's going to be starting from where we left off all the way up to where they go to the fair. And then we're going to stop there. It's actually not the song that I love. The song that I love is when they are already at the fair. We're not there yet, but tomorrow you'll get to watch the movie up until that point. Please don't watch ahead. We're going to watch it as a class. And then at the very end, we'll watch the new movie, which you guys know is not a musical. Okay, guys, some things to keep in mind. I am going to be getting your new spelling list on Spelling City. So you guys will be able to do Spelling City as well as iReady. Make sure that you are reading every day and make sure that you are still being kind to each other. You should probably watch a video on how to appropriately wash your hands. You should be washing your hands for about 20 seconds or longer in warm water with soap that foams up. That's ideal, right? We don't always have foamy soap, and that's okay. But as much as you can do will help out not only you, but other people that you come into contact with, okay? I miss you guys, and we'll be seeing each other soon. Okay, bye.